Well, how's everybody doing today? I was a little sick over the weekend, got some vertigo, so if I act a little drunk, understand that it's just inner ear infection, nothing else. This is Tech Sergeant T. Just want to talk a little bit more about the nuclear attack drills that we went through in elementary school. Interesting in light of this weekend's events that it's some things just never change. Seems like we're always under stress from the threat of, as they say, wars or rumors of wars. Um, it's it's difficult to live with. Fortunately, most of that activity is overseas, and I think what brought it home more uh, in the 50s uh, was the very recent end of World War II, and uh, the fact that we had actually witnessed the destructive power of atomic bombs and how they could decimate entire cities with one explosion. And it became it dominated everything there. The space, the race, not space race, the nuclear proliferation between the United States and Russia, particularly, uh, seemed very real. Those drills, of course, brought it home. And every science fiction movie that was made at the time, Godzilla, of course, the Japanese put out all those, and that was all, you know, iguanas being exposed to nuclear radiation. But giant ants, giant grasshoppers, giant spiders, uh, all these monsters that came out in the sci-fi movies in the 50s were all as a result of being exposed to nuclear radiation. So it made it, I think, a lot more real to everyone. Even good old Ed Sullivan had a documentary. I remember it because they had a disclaimer ahead of it. It was just a short animated vision of what would happen to the world in case of a nuclear war. And they said, small children or people with sensitivity in that area should not watch it. I watched it. It wasn't that bad because it was very blocky kind of animation. It wasn't too much reality, more symbolic than anything else. But it was there, and it was prevalent. It was constantly brought to mind. And now it seems like even more of a threat because some of the people that have these weapons aren't as, should we say, not as well disciplined as the Soviet Union and the United States has been. They strike you as the kind of people that wouldn't care if they, wiped out half the country or half the world. So it is scary. But I think with all things we can, plan for the worst and hope for the best, as they say. But it was definitely a very big part of our lives in the 50s and into the 60s. It was so surprising to many of us, especially us in the military, when the Soviet Union fell the way that it did in '89. It basically just quit. I mean, everybody went home, and the wall in Berlin came down, and that was it. It was over. Basically, financially, it just ran out of money. But they're still around. But then we have, other countries, especially like North Korea and China and countries like that, and some of the Middle East. Seems like it's always on fire for one reason or another. So take hope that there's people in charge that will be somewhat judicious when it comes to making those kind of decisions, and try not to let it dominate. Uh, your hopes and plans for the future. That we can all take hope in the civility of countries and people around the world. All any of us want is to have a good life. You know, even when I talk to people behind the Iron Curtain, when I was in Berlin in the 70s, that they basically want the same thing. All people want the same thing. They want a good job. They want a family. They want to be able to take a vacation once in a while. And it's, I hope that those attitudes become and stay the dominant attitudes. Well, you all have a good day. It's raining here, so I'm going to try and stay dry. And we'll talk more about some other subjects. See you later.